Is the Kawhi Leonard Clippers era officially over? Would be the close to one of the more disappointing eras of basketball of all time, considering expectations. But the Clippers are somehow quietly 3-8. Their season started with a loss to the Jazz. Everyone kind of just brushed that off. They follow that up with wins against Portland and Phoenix, lose to the Warriors, beat the Pelicans, and now have lost 6 straight. And their next game is against the Mavericks. If they lose that one, the panic will really set in. But Kawhi Leonard is out with an ankle and a foot sprain. Does not seem like he will be returning very soon. Bradley Beal is out for the year. And we thought we could rely on the fact that James Harden wins regular season games and Ty Lue is a very good coach. We thought that would be able to keep them afloat. Only problem is, well, you know what? I was going to say the West is even deeper this year, but I'm not even sure that's true considering what's going on in Memphis, what's going on in Dallas, what's going on in Sacramento. So it's relatively the same. Only problem is the Clippers, they just aren't that good. And I underestimated Norman Powell. I kind of thought that was going to be a fluky year from Norman Powell last year. He looks just as good this year. I underestimated that. I thought Bradley Beal would be able to be a reasonable facsimile of that, if not even a better version of that. I was completely wrong about that. Bradley Beal was completely washed. Now he's going to be out the whole year. You guys know who's fourth on this team in minutes per game? It's Chris Dunn. I love Chris Dunn as a player, as a really good role player, maybe your 7th, 8th man, but he's fourth on this team in minutes per game. Don't love that. Zoo, I think, has been okay, but there's a real chance that last year was the high watermark for Zoo, that he never gets back to that level or just plateaus there, which is fine. But the Clippers were building with the idea of Zoo's going to be their 3rd best player. That doesn't seem like a smart idea anymore, right? Chris Paul has looked washed. Bogdanovich, I thought, would have a bounce back year after having a very bad shooting year last year. He hasn't been good. They don't have the young players. Like, I'm wondering at what point does Steve Ballmer look at this team and maybe decide to pivot. But what makes it difficult with that is they don't have their pick this year. So bottoming out for them is kind of counterintuitive. And I guess it wasn't really a consensus thing that the Clippers were going for it this year or whatever. Like, some people might have thought of the Clippers as a true contender. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think of them as a contender just because I don't believe in James Harden and I don't believe in Kawhi Leonard as leaders of your team. But on paper, I thought they were a championship contender type of team, right? Just on paper. I was assuming, again, Bradley Beal would be better. I was assuming that Zoo would be better. I was assuming that Chris Paul wasn't completely washed. I was assuming a lot. But we're going to find out very, very soon if the Clippers are completely doomed or if they can claw their way back into it. Obviously, it's a very, very long NBA season, but their next 10 games, Dallas, Boston, Philadelphia, Orlando, Charlotte, Cleveland, Lakers, Memphis, Dallas, Miami. Dallas twice, Boston, Memphis, Charlotte. You got to win those 5 games. Obviously, you go 5-5 there, you're going to be 8-13, but you hope to win those 5 games and then maybe get another 2 in there, maybe beat a Cleveland or a Miami. All of a sudden, you are 10-13, which is not great, but you're right back in the thick of it, seeing what you can do as a team, seeing what moves maybe you need to make. But if you don't, if you go 4-6 in those 10, and all of a sudden you are 7-14 in the middle of December where the schedule gets tougher, and it's not like the Clippers can't beat good teams, I'm just saying, realistically, they might have to make some real tough decisions. And what do when they don't own their pick? You could really have two minds about that. You could say we don't want OKC to get even better. We don't want to make the trade look even worse. If we're terrible and we give them a top 5 pick this year, that's going to look atrocious, right? You could think that way, or you could think, you know what? The best thing for us to do, the best way for us to get better right now is to trade James Harden. It's to trade John Collins. It might be to trade Zoo. I'm not saying we're there yet, but again, these next 10 games I feel like are really going to show us if we're there. And I only really brought up the main guys in Zoo and James Harden and John Collins, but even someone like a Brook Lopez probably has real value to other teams that need a backup 5. Derrick Jones Jr. has real value as a defensive wing that a lot of teams need. Chris Dunn, a lot of teams need someone that can guard opposing point guards. I think a lot of these players have real value that the Clippers could get back. But what also makes it a little bit interesting is if you're Steve Ballmer and you are currently under an investigation by the NBA for cap circumvention, there's a chance you might be losing draft picks very, very soon. Now, Steve Ballmer probably knows more about what happened. He knows more of what he did and did not do wrong. But if you think there's a chance the NBA is about to dock you a bunch of first-round picks, it might not make sense to trade for them. Hypothetically speaking, I don't know who would do this, but if someone offered you right now 2 first-round picks for Zoo, if you're Steve Ballmer, it might not actually make sense to do that. It might make more sense to have Zoo on the team under contract and be able to move him later for whatever, right? And also, I just remembered this. I don't think anything's gonna happen, but if you guys have read the reporting, Ty Lue's name is all over that Chauncey Billups story. Like, Ty Lue was there a lot with those poker situations, so I'm just throwing that out there. Might be just another drop in the bucket to the idea that the Clippers should maybe blow it up and reset this completely. They really wanted to have a star level player when they made their new building. They had James Harden, they had Kawhi. They did that. I think all Clippers fans can see this is not going anywhere. And I do think it would be a smart time to reset. Again, it just looks bad because you're going to be giving OKC better picks. But if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, what teams would actually want James Harden? And I'm not saying that like, oh, nobody want. I'm really asking what teams would want James Harden. Immediately, my mind, probably your mind as well, goes to Houston. Reunion with Houston, reunion with KD. That deal would have to be including Fred VanVleet, maybe Reed Shepherd, throw in a Clint Capella. If that money adds up, probably still not enough money. Could you see something like that happening? I actually could. But I think Houston would opt to go younger in that role. I brought up LaMelo recently. I brought up Zach LaVine. LaMelo, I know, is viewed as a point guard, but I feel like his off-ball skills would showcase a lot more playing next to Amen Thompson and Şengün, whereas we know James Harden is an on-ball player, so I don't think that would happen, but I could see it happening. Other team that came to mind is the Milwaukee Bucks, but they don't have any picks to give, and I'm not trading Ryan Rollins, which is crazy to say, but I've been telling you guys about Ryan Rollins for a while now. I'm gonna take my victory lap on that one. But is there something with Kuzma, Bobby Portis? Probably not, right? And honestly, the Giannis James Harden fit, I don't love it. Obviously, I would do it if I could, but I don't love that. But the team that is staring me in the face right now, a team that has been rumored to be looking into Ja Morant, the Minnesota Timberwolves. If they could get James Harden for Julius Randle, I know I said I don't believe in James Harden, but in this situation, I would love that. I think he makes Ant better. I think he makes Rudy Gobert better. I think he makes McDaniels better. I think he makes Naz Reid better. And if you want to say Julius Randle is the better player right now, I think that's debatable. But I don't think Julius Randle makes those other guys better. I think James Harden would make everybody on that team better. He would make everyone's life easier. It would empower Jaden McDaniels to be more of a scorer. And we've been saying how Minnesota needs a true point guard next to Ant. And obviously this is not the point guard of the future, but we were thinking maybe the only way for you to get the point guard of the future is to give up McDaniels or give up Naz Reid and some picks. But if you can add one of the greatest playmakers of all time with Ant, with McDaniels, with Naz Reid, with Rudy Gobert, before you make that decision on the point guard of the future, I think you kind of have to take a shot at that. And if you're the Clippers, you are in this unique position where you're actually not trying to bottom out in terms of wins because it doesn't matter. You don't have your own pick. So bringing in a Julius Randle, and if he helps you win too many games, it's not a big deal. You're fine with that. And you keep Julius Randle, he's the asset or whatever you convince yourself of. I don't love it for the Clippers. I don't love Julius Randle, but the reason it might make a little bit of sense for the Clippers is 3 years from now, James Harden is going to be washed or out the NBA, and you hope that Julius Randle has a little bit of value either to your team or to move in the future. That's the real hope there. Again, I don't really love it. It's actually difficult to make this deal because just looking at the players on paper, looking at the age, it would seem like Julius Randle is the better asset. So maybe it's not going to be as easy as I thought, right? Because in my mind, it was like the Timberwolves are the ones coming up. So they might have to send a pick, but in reality, they might not. Why would they send a pick for, depending on how these people feel about these players. In my mind, Julius Randle and a first-round pick for James Harden, I would do that if I'm the Timberwolves, but they're not thinking that way probably, right? Why would they do that for a, 35, 36-year-old James Harden? But I really think he would elevate that team. But maybe I should save that for a Minnesota video because I truly believe that would be a perfect fit. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Am I overreacting? Are the Clippers really going to blow it up? I think we're going to see in these next 10 to 15 games what direction this is going to go in. But let me know in the comments down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. It will mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.